You could pretty easily find some really high intent keywords, show your product in front of them. It was actually pretty easy to make more money for your clients. And for me, it was initially like my boss, my owner, the owner of my brand. And yeah, I think that's part of what I fell in love with. Is it just kind of very semantical? And I think I like words. I like writing. So I don't know. There's just kind of a connection there. So.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the owner and founder of ZATO PPC Marketing, Kirk Williams. ZATO PPC Marketing is a boutique paid search agency that helps growth-minded e-commerce and retail brands turn Google and Microsoft ads into stable profit. Kirk, so excited to have you on. How you doing today?
Thanks for having me, Chris. Yeah, doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Montana, so we'll always take that sun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Take as much as we can over here as well. Tell us more about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into what you're doing today?
Yeah, I took a very normal path of doing seminary in theology and then ending my way in advertising. So just like all of you, you know? No, it's funny. I'm sure you've experienced this as you've interviewed people. Like, it's crazy how many different people are in marketing and that sort of thing who just kind of have come from a different place. So it's always just fun to see where people have come from. And yeah, I was actually thinking I was going to be a pastor and was in seminary and getting my master's and realized, gosh, I have to make money to survive. Even as a pastor, you know, still got to eat. And so basically was looking for any job that I could take. I had a brief stint working overnight at Target and doing like backstock. And I actually enjoyed that, but it was overnight and I was supposed to also be working on my master's and then I would never see my wife. And there was some point where I'm like, okay, I'm literally going to die unless I figure something out. So I remember basically saying to myself, like, I will take the very next job opportunity that I get. And it randomly happened to be in marketing. And it wasn't really hey, I'd really like to do that. It was more of a, sure, I'll try that. It's during the day. It's light out when I'm working. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And like the long story short is just found that I really loved it, especially, well, I was a little bored and then I started getting into PPC and that's when I really started getting challenged and loving it. And then I kind of fell into that, eventually got my own clients, eventually headed out on my own. And yeah, now I just have a little agency. There's 6 of us and a couple of freelancers. So yeah, we're just trying to do great work with Google Ads and keep up with all the changes.
Nice. That's fantastic. And just like you said, trying to keep up with all the changes. I mean, in the world of marketing, you know, many different realms, the websites, the SEO, the pay-per-click, we have other paid ads. Why PPC? I mean, many businesses turn and choose to have pay-per-click and paid search advertising. What do you enjoy most about that and I guess the results that come from it for your clients?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I kind of fell in love with it when I first started was the idea that you could meet someone as they were specifically telling you that they were interested in what you had to sell. I think that was such an interesting one for me because so much of marketing or advertising is you have like a generally defined audience or group of people or even location, right? Like think of like a billboard. It's like, yeah, there's some science that goes into where you're buying the billboard. But at the end of the day, there's just a lot of unknown there. That's fine. There's a place for that. And I think for me, it was just like, man, I can actually target someone literally saying at this exact moment, I want this product you're selling. And that was just kind of this really cool thing for me. And a lot has changed, by the way. It's actually harder to do this sort of targeting than it used to be, which I think is not great from Google. But all that to say, especially in the early days, it was just kind of like, if you did a little research, you could pretty easily find some really high intent keywords, show your product in front of them. It was actually pretty easy to make more money for your clients. And for me, it was initially like my boss, my owner, the owner of my brand. And yeah, and I think that's part of what I fell in love with is it just kind of was very semantical. And I think I like words. I like writing. So I don't know. There's just kind of a connection there. So
yeah, absolutely. Especially when we're trying to demonstrate a return on revenue for our clients, we want them to have success and results as soon as possible. And I just found pay-per-click, paid search, like you said, you're kind of finding their search intent. Those are the highest intent signals possible. So if you can follow up with some great ad copy, some great images that lead them to the right destination, their landing page, you can start to get sales and conversions. And that's where the clients say, oh my gosh, you're amazing. when can we do more? Let's increase the budget. And they tell their business friends. So it's a great way to kind of build your business off of that. But there's so many different options with paid search. Back in my day, I'm going to date myself, but it was literally just search. It was just the text search, and that was your only option. Now there's like Google Shopping. There's product feeds. Those are many things that not many of us have gone into. What is that for? I guess, do you see a good benefit from the Google Shopping and product feed? Can regular businesses benefit from it? Is it just e-commerce stores?
Yeah, so product feed is just e-commerce. And as with all things, it's kind of like, yes, this is the way it is. And also sometimes there's outliers, right? They're constantly expanding. Like, for instance, they turned on like automobile ads that are very similar looking to Google Shopping, where there's an image, there's a price, maybe the ratings, that sort of thing. So I think they're trying, I wouldn't be surprised if we just really see that over time expand into a lot of different options, right? Maybe you're like looking for an Airbnb somewhere or something like that, right? But the idea originally, it started with a very specific e-commerce idea, which was, hey, we want to make sure that you see a picture of this product because we're very visual as people. You can immediately see the price. Google really cares about making sure that the person who's searching, that their experience from when they see that ad and click on it and to the point where they get to your site and add it to the cart, that's the same, right? They don't want pricing changing, stuff like that. So shopping ads does tend to be e-commerce, but you got to have an add to cart option. You got to have the ability to add it to the cart and purchase. Some software is Google Shopping actually, but typically, even if it's a digital thing, you might have seen this on a site, and this might actually be why you've seen it like this, is that even though it's a digital thing, it has to be purchasable, add to the cart, that sort of thing. So it feels like a product. And so the way that Google does that, which is very different than the search side of things, in which you are bidding on keywords. Definition of terms, really important, right? A search term is what someone actually types into Google, their term, and a keyword is what the advertiser bids on. And so those two things are separate. Sometimes people think they're the same thing, but you as an advertiser are trying to find a keyword that matches the search terms best, right? With shopping ads, there's not keywords, so you can't say these are the keywords I want to bid on. And it's more that you are submitting your data around your products, like the title of it, the description, the price, the color, all that stuff, the size, especially if it's apparel. You're submitting that in what's called a feed. And then Google takes all of that information, and then Google uses that to match up to searchers, to their search terms.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of the short of it. And so really, for like keyword optimizations, if you will, for us PPC advertisers, it's kind of like you can think, okay, this keyword isn't working. Well, maybe if I try it with this word, or over time, you even see that in the search term report. People who are describing it with colors tend to purchase twice as much. Therefore, yeah, let's more aggressively bid on search on keywords with color in it, right? Red shirt, whatever. It's a little trickier with shopping ads, and that's where that's called, someone might have heard of feed optimization. And really the idea is you're just trying to see what are people searching for and try to get that into the product data, into the attributes to kind of like help Google find the right searches.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. I was like, how is Google really deciding? Is there any way to enhance that? You described it perfectly. Like there's ways you can put the description or keywords within the description just so that Google has a better chance putting that towards them. I wanted to ask more about AI features specifically in Google because there's kind of an upset and people are not happy about the AI overview overtaking a lot of the search real estate there, and it's affecting their organic SEO rankings. It's affecting their paid search terms. What have you seen in the realm of, Google Shopping, product feed, and just, yourself and your clients?
So we are in, as everyone knows, a very interesting time right now because there really is a massive shift that's occurring. And I think it's one of those things where people kind of know and then they kind of don't. A lot of people, myself included, are already a little annoyed and over the idea of like AI is changing everything, AI driven and everything, right?
Right.
And yet there's a level where, especially with AI overview, it really is shifting everything. It's just a lot of people hijack the term. But what it's shifting is that more and more it's going to create a change in how consumers interact with search engines. And that primarily is moving towards more conversational, right? And so one of the huge pieces of that whole change thing, as you said, AI overviews. So one of the huge pieces is Google hasn't really been monetizing those strongly. No one really has yet either, right? And of course, that's not going to last forever. And so there's almost this level of like everyone's already kind of shifting and trying to figure out, especially on SEO, the AI overview side. And to me, there's almost like this tsunami wave of advertising that's somehow going to change it as well. That I think we don't even fully know what that's going to look like. So to answer your question, like there are ads that now have begun to appear in AIO, but not in a lot of them yet. Like Google is literally like rolling them out more and more. And so that alone continues to change the game in how we utilize those and what we do about those and how we advertise them and the different campaign types that Google's going to use. Because if Google wants to change advertiser behavior, they really could pretty easily, because they could just be like, hey, the only way to appear in AI overviews is, XYZ. There's a few ways currently on the advertising side, broad match and PMax and AI Max search. But if for some reason they're like, we just want you to use the AI Max, if at some point a huge amount of your ad traffic is coming from AI overviews, like you're almost going to be forced into using whatever campaign type requires that. And so again, we're not there. There's a whole lot of change there, but hopefully just to even demonstrate, like, there's still a lot of things that are brewing and changing that we're just trying to stay on top of and be aware of while still managing the existing state of things.
And who knows where it's going to be. Just like you said, there's a lot of unknowns in this space currently. And it's very interesting where paid placements might take a place in the AI overview and just that landscape as a whole. Because I even heard that OpenAI's ChatGPT wanted to use some sort of paid sponsorship to insert a recommendation of a certain product within their answers. And that's very fascinating too. Now, it's almost like we're coming full circle again, where people 10, 15 years ago were writing blogs with specific products placed into as maybe an affiliate or just their personal recommendation. What is that going to change the trust factor when people are going to ChatGPT and they understand, okay, is this really the best recommendation, or is this a product placement now? And how do I trust it? And then how do we as advertisers and marketers kind of move around that? Do we lean into that a bit and try to promote our product there? Do we just do better SEO? I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's just unknown.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Especially on the SEO side and stuff. Like, I know, because that's not my expertise whatsoever, but I try to keep up a little bit on it because I'm like the SEO guy for ZATO. And it has been interesting even to see already. I mean, I don't even know a percentage, but a decent amount of our leads increasing. A number that has surprised me are people who've said, found you on Grok, found you on ChatGPT. This is pretty funny. Someone had this I had this long prompt, kind of a conversation. I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Find me the perfect Google Ads agency. And they're like, your name came up. And so we ended up having a call. Yeah, we ended up having a call. And it was pretty funny because they were like, you're it. ChatGPT told me. And during the call, I was like, hey, there's some stuff on your website you should consider. And there's a few things where I was like, hey, what about all this other stuff, though, that's important too? By the end of the call, they didn't want to hire us. And I thought it was funny because somehow there was a disconnect between the three of us, me, ChatGPT, and this guy. But we ended up not being the perfect agency. So I just thought it was kind of funny.
All in all, I feel like it's okay, for that relationship not to move forward. Yeah. But it's very interesting to see that they had such conviction about your agency. And
yes,
that almost makes me curious. What was the prompt and what was ChatGPT saying where there's this disconnect now in the communication?
And that's where we get into like psychological stuff too, because I think they said they were looking for a smaller agency and one who really is an expert on Google Ads and all this stuff. And again, to me, part of what happened, at least from my point of view, this person probably sees it differently. From my point of view, I did what was advertised. Like I try to show up in expertise and be like, here's some things maybe on your brand side that need to be solved in order to do Google Ads well. And to me, that some of the disconnect is they were not maybe quite ready for expertise communicated that didn't maybe fully agree with their own biases or whatever.
Yes.
So again, like ChatGPT based on their prompt might have been right, but then it ended up being that's not actually what they wanted, right? So I don't know. Yeah, just this. It's an interesting world right now with all this stuff.
It is, absolutely. Speaking of kind of like the disconnect or the clients that you work best with, sometimes it feels like a client needs to be at a certain point in their business where they're ready for pay-per-click PPC in order to scale or in order to grow. Are there businesses that just aren't a good fit? Like, what do they need to work on first and have kind of buttoned up before they can reach out to you for the growth and the scaling portion?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because I think it's really important. I will say first the "it depends" comment, but then I'll actually go into some specifics. It really does depend. I don't have a real specific, it's not like a size number. There are so many different things that weigh into that. Like a few examples. Someone can be small. And I'm trying to think of exactly how to say it, but maybe like legal is a good way to look at this. Like I don't work in legal, but I have friends who work with it, and like local lawyers can really do good even being small with search, just because there's this, someone needs help, maybe like let's say they got an accident or whatever it might be, they need help, they communicate that, you get them on the phone with a lawyer, high chance of them selling it. It kind of really works well, and so their actual ad spend or revenue isn't as important there. The same size maybe business who's like, hey, we sell 2,000 products, e-commerce nationally online, and our biggest competitors are, Walmart, Home Depot, Target, right? They're naming Amazon, they're naming off all those people. And then they're like, should I do Google ads? And you're kind of like, in your case, I think you're too small. Like you don't have the budget to compete, right? So that's where it gets a little tricky in terms of size is a factor. But sometimes we'll look at things like auction costs even. And by the way, these are all the kind of things that are good. Like if you are asking someone for help, these are some of the things just to be aware of and even ask for. To me, auction costs are another one of those that work into your budget. A way that I look at it for a lot of brands with Google Ads for budget is if you are just starting out, you have a really low budget, it's not can you ever make Google Ads work in your industry. It's more, is this the best place for you to most efficiently get in front of as much of your audience as possible? And that's not always the case. For some people, it really is like Meta, or frankly, for some, let's say like local businesses, for some, it's almost like if you have $15,000 this year that you want to spend on advertising, there might be some interesting local ways to gain exposure way more aggressively with like in-person things or whatever, right? Than just like throwing ads onto Google. So I think there's size that can be part of it. The other big thing, and this gets a little trickier because it's you know it when you see it, but a brand is not ready for Google Ads if they don't have their stuff together on all of the rest of the stuff. So like I see this a lot. I see brands expecting, and this isn't just Google Ads, by the way. I think this is like SEO and Meta and everything. They expect a marketing channel to solve what a marketing channel cannot. So that might be like, hey, if you don't have a good buying position with your manufacturer, we can't sell enough to make up for that. The math doesn't work. And yet sometimes I get this is tricky because sometimes you just kind of fall into that trap of thinking that'll work. But like if your landing page sucks, you have kind of more of these brand side, business side things where if those aren't in a good place, then you don't want to just keep chucking money at marketing unless that stuff is fixed and locked down either. So if we get a lead, those are some of the things we're looking into, because I personally am not a fan of, like, it's actually a huge waste of my and my team's time as well for us to start with someone who, isn't actually a good fit for us. We're going to be working with them for 2 months. Everyone's unhappy after lots and lots of conversations, things like that. I'd rather just be honest right from the beginning, right? For both of our sakes. So,
right.
Yeah, that's
this
kind of
is
how
a
I
lot
see it.
about your integrity and the way you handle your business and your clients. Many people are looking for this easy button for them to press and just toss some money in and hopefully we get something back. But you're just upfront and honest with them and say, hey, let's look at your situation here and see if you can even be competitive in this space. Is this the right time? And people should be thanking you for that. Like, hey, thanks for not taking my money and providing all this insight and knowledge on what I need to fix first before I come back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we try to do. That's how I would like to be treated in business. And I even try to be pretty honest with them. Like, I could be wrong too, because that's also part of it. Just like from my standpoint, this is what I see right now. And I think this is pretty important. Or at the very least, if you want to try it, maybe here's like a small test or something that we could try. But again, you have to be fully aware that there is a risk here. I'm not able to guarantee, performance, that sort of thing. That's literally what a test is. You wouldn't need a test if you could guarantee performance, then it wouldn't be a test. It would just be an implementation.
We're skipping a lot of phases. Just go straight to the implementation. We're just delivering ad sets now.
Yeah, they're like, we really want you to test. What they mean is we just want you to know before you test what the right thing is. I'm like, I wish I did. I would be a trillionaire, right?
We want you to test, but we have zero budget for the testing. It's like, okay, now
Yeah,
that's
but
more
it can't
insight
be
than
a
it is
test.
testing. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. For the types of clients you work with, you said it's mostly e-commerce. Are they within a certain industry, or do they have commonalities, or just anyone work with anyone who is an e-commerce brand?
Yeah, for us, it's mostly anyone who's an e-commerce brand. At my agency, we do have a couple of different models that I've kind of like developed. One is a little bit more of the traditional agency model where it's like we have people who really know Google Ads. They're going to be on the phone more with the client. There's going to be more strategy back and forth. So I say that because for us, filtering would be just like clients who are too small, really, in some ways. Again, for us to actually do justice, there's just a certain amount of money that it takes for us to be able to implement this. But then like kind of along the lines of just wondering, hey, I wonder if, especially for smaller brands that kind of overall, they are investing in their brand and they just need someone to be on Google Ads. And this is like something we've done for a few years. It's kind of like our small budgets program. And we do try to be pretty honest with what they're getting. It's almost more like a product than a service, but that's also why it's cheaper. So we do take on smaller accounts in that one. But with our main core with ZATO, size of our clients tend to be, they're probably spending between like K and a few hundred K is typically our client size. And then in terms of vertical, like we have a ton of random verticals through that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think e-commerce is interesting. And I try to explain this to people. There's certainly a benefit, I think, for knowing a specific industry or vertical more than someone else. I think there's a benefit there. But I actually think there are so many similarities to businesses by the time you get into like, what are we trying to do in terms of math and all the other stuff, that there's not such an aggressive benefit to hiring someone in your vertical that's often worth the cost of what like a vertical only agency will be or whatever. So yeah, we tend to be fairly vertical agnostic. I like more being just choosy on an individual level, just like taking a look at the account and just being like, do I think that we can help them? So yeah, and we'll turn some away. I just had a conversation with someone where I kind of walked them through. I don't think you're ready yet, but I think you could be, and I hope you'll come back to us in a year.
That's fantastic, because it's important both for you as the business owner and the people listening and potential clients. Just, hey, what is going to be a good fit, for us to work together? That way, you can set those expectations and nobody's hurt at the end of the day. And, they'll come back when they're ready and the time is right. And then they can get all their money's worth, from your services.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to ask, where can people find you and connect with you online?
So I personally am like PPC Kirk, and on all the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and and then ZATOmarketing.com is our agency.
Very nice. And we'll have those links available down in the show notes and the description so everyone can get connected here. Kirk, I wanted to ask, you've been in, this business for 14 years. What has been the most effective strategy for you to build out your own clients and, start to build those relationships and conversations?
Yeah, I've definitely gone the route, if people are familiar with the terms of like more of inbound type marketing myself. And so basically just trying to write stuff, talk at conferences, just get out there and be known, be a loudmouth on Twitter, share opinions. And I think that's been overall a source of what's helped us, especially over time. Then we have like Google organic traffic, things like that. That's really how we've grown. At some point, probably I need to figure out the actual advertising side of things. But I don't know.
Inbound is great. That's where relationships
inbound
happen.
has worked for us.
That's great. No, I think it's important because relationships are built. That's B2B space. You're adding authority and credibility, and just the conversations that you're able to put in a blog format into a social post. It just kind of shares, hey, here's who we are. This is what we do, our expertise. So you're adding to all the things that people are looking for in hiring a company like yours as well.
Yeah. And I'm actually a good example of a client where we don't really do Google Ads advertising ourselves. And that's actually because like bidding up against other PPC agencies is really expensive. Like it's an example actually of like small agency bidding up against big players. It's like I have to have a certain amount of budget even just to like get enough leads to make that work with conversion rates and things like that. And so, right. Yeah, it's funny. Like we're even in that space where I can actually like appreciate it from that level. Like it's not right for us right now.
Right. It's just more realistic. You're just working with what you know, and that knowledge kind of leads you to, hey, there's going to be other channels or other opportunities that we should try that are just going to be a better fit overall. Kirk, we're almost wrapping up our episode. I wanted to ask, do you have anything kind of planned for 2026? Are you yourself kind of growing and scaling? Are you going to do anything different? Or are you kind of sticking with all the tried and true things that have been working so far?
Sticking with the tried and true philosophy. And then as I learn things, like, adding those in is maybe the way to say it. So I don't know if I have any huge plans. I'm doing some traveling again. I usually do that every year for like conferences. I'm excited about that. I'm heading to Friends of Search in Amsterdam and Munich, SMX Munich in March. So that's going to kind of be fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So doing a little bit of traveling and speaking per normal. Otherwise, yeah, some of it for me has been, I feel like I'm learning more and more of my own business ownership and things about that. And I almost feel like there's certain things that I've learned and mistakes I've made now and stuff like that, where I almost feel like I'm starting to look ahead. I don't think there's any scaling goals, if you will. I think I have some better insight into, hey, I think this is how we could position ourselves better. I think this is like, let's get to X amount more of profit and then, yeah, let's hire again, that sort of thing. So I think there might be some moves like that that'll probably naturally happen in 2026. So if they don't, I'm never too upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of taking it as it goes. And hey, there's no need to like set an exact goal for the scaling thing. If we grow, it's great. I think we can refine some things, but you just kind of grow with the flow, so to speak, just kind of building on those opportunities.
Yeah. My goal is I want to make a continually better process and better steps and not so much the actual objective line of whatever that is. Because I think that will actually move as you get your process, right? I mean, it's atomic habits sort of a thing.
I agree. Yeah, that process kind of defines over time. And once you're in the trenches for a bit doing the client fulfillment, you start to realize, okay, maybe there's some sticking points within the buyer's journey here just to create a better experience for them. And then that, I think, helps you grow its efficiency. And then they're going to start telling their friends and other businesses about the great experience that they had with you as well.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to do a better job of like sales and working with our customers and just do a better job at business, honestly.
I love it. Kirk, I appreciate, you being, one of the top tier marketers out there who has honesty and integrity still built into everything that they do. So keep up the great work with that. We appreciate that. Looking forward to the next conference and your speaking events that you go to. Congratulations and thanks again for coming on our show.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you.